Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. As he approached, Luo Feng transformed from the rock back into a human from in silver armor. There were 5 shining wings on his back. Luo Feng's eyes looked indifferent at this moment, as nobody could sway his determination to kill Betty. Sector Beast Betty was the strongest Sector Beast. If Luo Feng killed Betty, it would take much longer for a level 6 Sector Beast to be born, which would give the races in Universe Ocean a grace period. I have to kill Betty. Luo Feng only had one goal in his mind, to kill Betty. After teleporting over 100 times, he finally felt a faint teleportation ripple. It's right there. Luo Feng teleported and rushed toward the ripple. He then condensed the space so that nobody could teleport and run away. Betty had just entered level 5 and was daring and energetic. He was just about to deal with Sector Beasts at level 4. He even tried to limit himself to teleporting only as far he had been able to teleport while at level 4. Suddenly, Betty felt an approaching ripple. Then the space around it condensed. The source of that ripple couldn't even sense the presence of Sector Beasts, which meant it wasn't a Sector Beast that was coming toward him. Apparently, it was a creature from the races of Universe Ocean. A great being from Universe Ocean had been able to penetrate the core area of Land of Darkness without being noticed. And it was rushing directly at Betty. Could it be a coincidence? There were almost 10 million Sector Beasts in the Land of Darkness, and they were able to camouflage themselves. If they didn't want other Sector Beasts to find them, it was almost impossible for them to run into Betty. It must be Milky Way Horde leader, Luo Feng, said Sector Beast Betty. Only him. He enslaved Morosa, and that's how he knows where all the Sector Beasts are in Land of Darkness. Betty suddenly had many thoughts racing through his mind. Who is it? Sector Beast Betty knew he wouldn't be able to teleport now. He was enraged. He wasn't in a rush, but looked toward the ripples with both his heads. In the distance, a silver-armored human being stood in space. 5 pairs of silver wings were open on his back, and he was staring at Sector Beast Betty with the eyes of a wolf staring at a sheep. Are you the number 1 great being from Universe Ocean, Milky Way Horde leader Luo Feng? Sector Beast Betty asked indifferently. Betty was absolutely confident now that it had entered level 5. He had felt part of the destruction of the origin. His power had surged, and he was just pretending to be at level 4 by teleporting shorter distances. Level 5 was almost the pinnacle power in the evolution system of Sector Beasts. Compared to level 6 Sector Beasts, level 5 didn't have 10,000 bodies and couldn't pull off a long fight. But other than that, they didn't have many disadvantages. Luo Feng opened his mouth. Betty? You know me. Both the singular eyes of Sector Beast Betty glinted with a dim light. It seems that Morosa told you about me, and you managed to sneak into the Land of Darkness without being noticed by any other Sector Beasts. You're indeed impressive. Even I didn't notice you. Now, you show yourself. It seems you came here to target me. That's right. Luo Feng nodded. The conversation sounded tepid. However, Luo Feng was constantly observing Sector Beast Betty. Wasn't Betty scared at all? Its calmness sharpened Luo Feng's vigilance. Morosa had already given every Sector Beast a message before it was enslaved, and apparently, level 4 Sector Beasts weren't Luo Feng's match. Facing an enemy that it couldn't rival, it should have either panicked or attacked. However, Betty was oddly calm. I had meant to kill you in the future, but now that you're here, I will. Sector Beast Betty's eyes gleamed madly. It's me who's going to kill you. Luo Feng yelled. The 5 pairs of wings on Luo Feng's back suddenly bulged, and at the same time, godly power that was utilized in its entirety was infused into his Shawu wings. He kept performing the first 3 volumes of Du and Mie. Even in the world of Jin, burning 3 levels at the true god level was the limit. Luo Feng immediately triggered the 3rd level of engravings of his Shawu wings with his godly power. All of a sudden, an area of several square light years was covered by vast clouds. It was single thought void space. A strong binding power immediately assaulted Betty. It only made Betty laugh. Ha ha. Did you use this move to reduce Morosa to using sector light passageway? It's enough to deal with level 3 sector beasts. However, it's nothing but a joke to me. Blurry light permeated and relentlessly eroded the area of the single thought void space. The light was stronger, it kept growing, forcing the single thought void space to retreat. Luo Feng was stunned. How can the sector light domain be so powerful? The sector light domain of a level 4 sector beast should be at the same level as my single thought void space. Has sector beast Betty really reached level 5? Although it was the same move, sector light domain was different when it was performed by level 5 sector beasts as opposed to level 4 sector beasts. The power of the technique depended on the sector within the sector beast, and apparently, level 5 sector beasts were superior. No wonder. It's Betty. It's entered level 5. Luo Feng's voice sounded cold, but it was spread several light years away. Ha ha. No wonder you're the first great being in Universe Ocean. You concluded that I've entered level 5 so quickly. Sector beast Betty guffawed cruelly. Luo Feng knew from Morosa that Betty was ruthless and had a heart of stone. I've indeed entered level 5, but you're here now. You're being suicidal. This space and time skill of yours can't compare with my sector light domain. This time. But sector beast Betty was suddenly stunned when a radiant pearl flew out of Luo Feng's palms, giving out golden light. The golden pearl flew above Luo Feng's head, and burning godly power kept being infused into it. The golden pearl transformed into vast and mighty golden waves. Golden waves suddenly showed up in the area where Luo Feng and Betty were. The golden waves and single thought void space empowered one another, and the power surged. They immediately suppressed Betty's sector light domain, forcing it to back off. That golden pearl was called the Pearl of the Golden Ocean. It was a precious valuable brought by Luo Feng from the world of Jin, a machine-type domain valuable used by true gods of void space. It was only an ordinary treasure for true gods of void space, and mediocre true gods of void space were already able to use it. The limit of ordinary true gods was only at top-tier level 9. When Luo Feng was comprehending the evolution of chaos, he had largely exceeded that limit. He could totally rival ordinary true gods of void space. That was why he was able to trigger the Pearl of the Golden Ocean. In fact, when Luo Feng had been converting credits into valuables in World of Jin, he had been able to convert the valuables back into military credits as part of the same deal. He had obtained many valuables to see whether he was able to fully comprehend and use them. If he wasn't able to use them, he would return them. Like Wuqi God, which was one of the best true god level machine type valuables and had 3 levels. The 3rd level was so intricate that it was more difficult to employ than many machine type valuables at the true god of void space level. The engravings in the 3rd level of Shawu wings are relatively plain. Luo Feng sighed. I was able to utilize them when I was only a universe master, and even ordinary true gods are able to use them. Besides, my Shawu wings don't have an origin, so the move is indeed weaker than sector light domain. The more advanced a technique was, the more powerful it was. The simplified version of single thought void space was far from Luo Feng's true power. Unfortunately, the 4th level of Shawu wing establish a universe with a single thought, was too intricate for Luo Feng to utilize. If he could fully comprehend it and perform its true power, he would exert much more power than at present. The Pearl of the Golden Ocean was much more complicated than single thought void space, as it could only be triggered by true gods of void space, and it was the most advanced valuable that Luo Feng was able to use. It was also a machine-type valuable. Although it wasn't as delicate as his Shawu wings, it was still much more powerful than single thought void space. The endless golden ocean and the single thought void space, both were putting pressure on the sector light domain. Sector Beast Betty snorted. The sector light domain was now so small that it barely surrounded Betty's body like a thin membrane. Even so, that layer was very dense and was capable of defending Betty against every attack. Milky Way Horde leader Luo Feng. Sector Beast Betty snorted. All you have are valuables. You trapped Morosa in your star tower, and eventually, you enslaved it. Without your valuables, you wouldn't have been able to accomplish that. What Betty said was true. Luo Feng had used single thought void space, the power of space of suppression, and the power of the origin of his miniature universe, to completely confine Morosa so that it couldn't self-destruct. I heard that you have an endless ocean body, said Sector Beast Betty. Sector Beast Betty was exceptionally aloof. He was indeed full of confidence. Just as he spoke, endless black light shot out and surrounded Luo Feng in the distance. It was so fast that even Luo Feng wasn't able to dodge it. Endless black threads wound around and enveloped Luo Feng, trapping him in a cocoon. However, you're only a human, said Sector Beast Betty, and you've become a true god, which means you now only have a human body. You might have lost your endless ocean body. There's no need to fight you. All I need to do is to consume your godly power. Betty looked at the black mist cocoon in the distance and smirked. A sector beast at level 5 can exert totally different power than level 4 sector beasts even when performing the same move. Now, my power is purer and more forceful. The power of my sector is much stronger. Luo Feng didn't even try to get out. Instead, he began burning his godly power, shocking the black mist cocoon. Godly power and the power of the sector beasts were consuming each other. You want to compete with me in terms of godly power? Luo Feng said. He smirked. He could easily transform his godly power into the power of the sector beasts instead, so that his enemy couldn't do that. However, he preferred to do what he was doing now. According to Morosa, the godly power of level 5 sector beasts can rival that of true gods 100 million kilometers tall, Luo Feng thought. However, it's still less than 1/1 trillionth of mine. Amid the surging golden waves, a gigantic black cocoon floated. Sometimes it would bulge at one side, and at other times, it would bulge at the other side as though a monster was trying its best to burst forth from the cocoon. Opposing forces were frantically trying to annihilate one another. Sector Beast Betty was under the suppression of endless waves and a single thought void space, yet it was not bothered in the least. Looking far into the distance at the black mist cocoon, it broke into a wide smile. As if to publicize its arrogance, it said, "Milky Way Horde leader, you have fallen, and your godly power is not only used to fight the power of the sector beasts, but is also constantly being devoured by me. Compared to you, my consumption of power is much smaller. In terms of strength, you are only an ordinary human life form. How can you hold a candle to me, a noble, 5th stage sector beast?" Betty was full of confidence. Break, break, break. The black mist cocoon was bulging repeatedly while vaguely showing the shape of a blade. Apparently, Luo Feng was using his blade to strike at the black mist cocoon in a frantic manner, yet no matter what he did, he could not force his way out. Ha ha ha, Sector Beast Betty was all the more arrogant as it watched Luo Feng struggling helplessly. Within the black mist cocoon, Luo Feng might have appeared to be repeatedly hacking against the black mist cocoon while at the same time blazing his godly power to fight against the sector beast, but deep within his heart, he was not the least bit flustered. He kept his cool, as he was aware that the black mist cocoon was very tenacious. If he sought to break it open by force, it would only be possible if both parties were very different in strengths. He could forcibly break open Morosa's black mist cocoon, but he could not do the same to the black mist cocoon set up by this fifth-stage sector beast, Betty. The best solution was to maintain the maximum consumption of godly power on both sides, and thereafter, strike with a full-force attack. This was the best way to break free and make his escape. The consumption of my godly power is only maintained at a relative rate, not a full-force outburst, Luo Feng said to himself. If not, my godly body would have expanded instantly to a height of 1 light year. With my mighty godly power, I can instantly annihilate this cocoon. It was a mutual consumption of power. Blood Ghost Blade was hacking the cocoon, but Luo Feng was maintaining it at a certain degree so that it was revealing adequate power to that degree. He did not want Sector Beast Betty to become suspicious. However, this would also mean he was unable to charge out of the black cocoon. Betty, as the strongest sector beast, how can it be that you are afraid to fight me in battle? Luo Feng's face was hideous, because of all his angry roaring. He understood that sector beasts were able to detect everything that was happening within a short distance, so his expression was definitely visible to Betty. If I am able to kill you so easily, is there any need to put forth the effort to fight you? Said Sector Beast Betty. Betty was, on the contrary, quite at ease. Deep within its heart, its greatest opponent was none other than Milky Way Horde Leader. So long as it killed Milky Way Horde Leader, the other great beings in Universe Ocean were not worth even mentioning. It would become the king of the sector beasts easily. Break them all. Luo Feng was fearsome, going crazy within the cocoon. His blade ray was dazzling white like snow. Again and again, it hacked against the black cocoon. We are both consuming one another's power, thought Luo Feng. I have lost half and it, too, has lost half. But at the moment, it is constantly devouring my godly power, and has devoured almost 30% so far. The proportion that we are at now, upon comparison, can be seen as such. When I have consumed 80%, it will have consumed 50%. Luo Feng was calculating. Although Sector Beast Betty was constantly devouring his godly power, it still needed time to transform whatever it swallowed. Just like how Morosa required an extremely long time to transform everything it had devoured from one origin each time it swallowed one. For one sector beast to feed on another sector beast, both being comprised of the same type of power, what was swallowed could naturally be transformed very rapidly. But to devour the power of another type, the transformation process was much more troublesome. 8-5. When Luo Feng had consumed 8 parts of his godly power, the sector beast would have consumed 5 parts of its godly power. If this situation persisted, in the blink of an eye, Sector Beast Betty power was down by 1/10. This left it in great shock. Why is he not dead yet? Sector Beast Betty said, staring at the black cocoon suspended in the distance. The random bulging on all sides continued, so obviously, Luo Feng was still struggling to break out to make an escape. His godly body, even if he was 10 million kilometers tall, ought to be used up by now. Something is wrong. He is only a human. How could his godly body get so big? Betty did not understand. It might have conversed with Zhenjiao Emperor and Dragon Rock Ancestral God about this, but those two fellows had long been ostracized by the various races of Universe Ocean. They had not been to the world of Jin, either, so they were oblivious to any information regarding the third level of the godly body route. Of course, they would not have known that the moment a godly body reached the third level, it would become a limitless godly body. Betty might not have known anything either, but it could sense that something was amiss, so it did not dare to continue what it had started. Keep. Sector Beast Bedis' two singular eyes were filled with reluctance. Far in the distance, the black cocoon was scattering countless threads and retracting them back into its body. Luo Feng, garbed in his silver-white armor, stood in the distance. He had 5 pairs of wings outspread from his back, and was holding onto his blood ghost blade. Luo Feng stared at Betty. "Why are we not continuing? You are indeed worthy to be called Universe Ocean's #1 master," said Betty. Now, all the more, Betty did not dare to belittle this Milky Way horde leader. "The godly power you have as reserve far exceeds my wildest imagination. It seems that using such simple moves to kill you is simply impossible." With blood ghost blade in his grasp, Luo Feng shook his head with a sigh. "I sought to destroy a good half of your power with this method. I did not expect you to give up so soon. Just as I have guessed, this was only a ruse." Sector Beast Betty suddenly let out a low roar. "I can't be bothered with anything else. I shall just crush you to death right away." "That will do." A roar followed. Roar. The blood-colored secret engravings, all over Sector Beast Bedis' entire body suddenly lit up. Then, blood-hued halos started to appear all over its body. Its aura suddenly increased in strength as it charged at Luo Feng with a howl. It was extremely fast, so fast that its speed far exceeded Luo Feng's. Holding onto his blood ghost blade, Luo Feng recalled something Morosa had once mentioned to him. "Master, a 5th-stage sector beast has acquired a portion of the origin of destruction. In other words, it owns the most powerful technique, destruction. Even if it chooses not to execute this most powerful technique, its ordinary attacks will still contain the subtle profundity of destruction. Thus, its power will be greatly enhanced. Then I shall see for myself." Luo Feng blazed his godly power to its limit. Instantly, Wuqi God was infused with some of his godly power. Having transformed into a silver-white Wuqi God, Luo Feng's aura produced an instant outburst. He had already managed to activate the 2nd stage of Wuqi God, so within that short span of time, his power skyrocketed. All this time, he continued to hold his blood ghost blade. Human. With its entire being bathed in blood-colored halos, Sector Beast Bedis' left and right hands stretched out one after the other, as though each held an endless universe. Then the fingers on its right hand started to change one by one. Instantly, a whirlpool passageway appeared amidst the golden waves. Soon after, the fingers on its left hand also started to transform one by one, and another whirlpool passageway emerged. The walls of the 2 whirlpool passageways were like mirrors that reflected everything from the outside world. Both passageways were intertwined with one another, becoming a mirror of one another. With both mirrors reflecting off each other, the endless world was reflected. The 2 whirlpool passageways were intertwined with one another, yet they seemed to have given rise to an endless world. Reincarnation Passageway. Sector Beast Betty initiated a propulsion with both claws. The 2 intertwining whirlpool passageways formed an endless world of reflections that emitted a bizarre aura. The world moved to enshroud Luo Feng. "Huh! What profound mystery of the destruction of origin is this?" Luo Feng said. He immediately felt that this move bore a whole new sense of novelty. These 2 intertwining whirlpool passageways seemed to have given rise to a trillion spaces. Annihilation of space. Blood Ghost Blade, which Luo Feng had been holding safe within his grasp, seemed to change into fine willows. These willows seemed to do a dance of their own accord, which, in turn, brought about endless space ripples. The endless space ripples gathered and condensed, but in the end, they were all brought to a great, boundless annihilation. Luo Feng's blood ghost blade formed a vast expanse of nothingness. Wherever it touched, the golden waves also transformed into nothingness. When the two intertwining whirlpool passageways collided against the oppressive force of this nothingness, instantly, a loud rumble was heard. The two intertwining whirlpool passageways tried their best to advance over and over again, and the billions of worlds of reflections they unleashed brought about a tremendous outburst of power, as they exerted their mighty impact over and over again. The vast nothingness whipped up by Luo Feng's blood ghost blade was continuously exerting its oppressive force. Regardless of whether it was 1,000 worlds of reflections, 10,000 of them, or even 100 million, all were annihilated. The final two whirlpool passageways completely collapsed. The oppressive force over the void space persisted for another short area before it dissipated. What? Sector Beast Betty was stunned. I am now at a disadvantage. Sector Beast Betty hesitated no more. Go. Turning around, Betty immediately took off and escaped with his speed skyrocketing as he moved. 100 times light speed, 1,000 times light speed. Sector Beast Betty was maintaining its sector light domain while executing its blood-burning technique. Then it executed the move reincarnation passageway, which it had acquired upon breaking through to the 5th stage, because it had managed to partially comprehend the move of destroying the origin. The moves it was using were the most powerful moves it could use in the range of not causing any great impact on its strength. Indeed, it possessed the ability to execute a more formidable technique, the most powerful technique, known as destruction. It did not know why, but it was fully capable of executing it. Once executed, even a miniature universe could be easily annihilated. Yet, likewise, the price to be paid was hefty. A large amount of energy would be consumed upon execution. After all, it had just crossed over to the 5th stage, and had yet to reach the top tier of the 5th stage. It was reluctant to execute this move yet. Escape, said Betty. I shall escape for now. When my power reaches the top tier of the 5th stage, or even the 6th stage, I will kill him. That won't be too much longer, either. He has already become a true god. There is no way he can go any further. But I have more than enough room to go higher. Betty may have thought this way, but in its heart, there was a trace of fear. This was the very first time it had been forced to flee. To date, no one had ever been able to force it to the point of having to escape, yet Luo Feng had brought it to this sorry state. Stop. Luo Feng executed Endless Golden Ocean and Single Thought Void Space. At the same time, he pointed afar, and a 9-story star tower flew over right away, emitting a dazzling light. Its base was composed of endless darkness, which shrouded Sector Beast Betty in the distance. An endless black whirlpool crazily devoured Sector Beast Betty. It's useless. Sector Beast Betty executed its blood-burning technique. The blood-colored secret engravings all over its body unleashed rays of light that enabled it to easily resist the star tower's devouring. Seems like it is not enough. Luo Feng shook his head and immediately brought back Star Tower. Go. Luo Feng waved again, and a green, plant-structured treasure floated into view. Right away, millions of branches and vines spread out to fill the surroundings, rapidly obscuring an entire chunk of the world. Almost instantly, the faraway Sector Beast Betty, who was attempting to escape, was enveloped by this treasure. I don't believe you will be able to escape this, said Luo Feng. Luo Feng's eyes were filled with murderous intent. 1,000 strands of vines is acting in concert with endless golden ocean and a single thought void space. If you are still able to escape, then something must be seriously wrong. With a single thought void space, Luo Feng was able to control time and space. Endless golden ocean fell under the category of domain equals type treasures. And 1,000 strands of vines was a spiritual weapon, and was also a weapon that had the power to restrain. All three were automaton-type treasures. Among them, Thousand strands of vines and pearl of golden ocean were commonly used by true gods of void space. These two wielded extremely strong powers. On the other hand, single thought void space was the weakest among the three. When the three were superimposed, Sector Beast Betty was trapped. Break open. Reincarnation passageway. Betty, who was trapped within the passageway, could feel itself being surrounded by the ocean, with time and space suppressing it. Far in the distance, countless branches and leaves were densely tangled around it, containing it within a sealed world. It was now inside this sealed world, with its entire body radiating blood-colored halos, trying its best to execute its attacks. Countless strikes were thrown against the numerous branches and leaves, but the branches and leaves were too strong and sturdy. There was no way to break free from them. Roar! Sector Beast Betty raised its head and let out an angry roar. Thick veins were forced around its two necks as both its eyes flashed crazy madness. No escape at all. Luo Feng's abilities were more than enough to send it to its doom. That was why he had to charge out now. There was no other option. Only his most powerful moves were left. "You want to die," said Sector Beast Betty. "Then I shall grant you death." Sector Beast Betty roared. Immediately, it executed its most powerful technique, destruction. After Sector Beast Betty entered level 5, bloody engravings had formed on his originally black skin. As Betty screamed and performed his supreme technique, destruction, the engravings started to flow on the surface of Betty's body. Then they swam out of its skin and started to float behind it. The giant bloody engraving picture floated behind Betty. There were no longer any engravings on the surface of its body. An ancient scream rumbled, and the enormous engraving image behind Betty started to gleam with radiant light. The image was like a skeleton, and the light it produced was like skin and flesh. They quickly clotted, forming the silhouette of a sector beast with two heads. It was a sector beast formed by the engraving picture, and it was gleaming, putting out endless light. Destruction! Sector Beast Betty roared. Destruction! Roared the enormous sector beast silhouette behind it. The two voices resonated with each other. The combined yelling made even Luo Feng's soul tremble, as he was watching it with single thought void space. Betty suddenly reached out its right hand. All 5 fingers were moving, triggering the space and time around them. An extensive, gleaming white whirlpool appeared out of nowhere. It was billions of times shinier than a star. Go! Betty pushed it with its right hand, and the image of the sector beast behind it also pushed. The gleaming white whirlpool spun as it flew forward, destroying everything it touched. As the whirlpool portal moved forward, it was still revolving, and the power from its spinning could mince everything. The huge wall of branches and leaves crumbled and scattered. Countless vines were retracted. The giant, oval-shaped mass of huge vines, branches, and leaves dissipated, turning back into the dark green plant valuable, 1,000 strands of vines. The whirlpool portal seemed to be moving slowly. However, that was because of the illusion that time almost stopped. On the contrary, it was moving rapidly. After piercing through 1,000 strands of vines, it charged at Luo Feng in the distance. There was a 9-level tower standing in the golden waves in the distance. Luo Feng had already entered Star Tower. Even though he was confident that he could resist the attack, Luo Feng still couldn't afford to be reckless. Die! Sector Beast Betty gazed at Luo Feng in the distance, its eyes twinkling expectantly. In Star Tower, Luo Feng watched the glowing whirlpool portal rushing at him. Destruction! Is this destruction? This is the most powerful attack technique out of all the 6 levels of Sector Beasts, which contains part of the destruction origin. Luo Feng was thrilled. Weaker true gods would only feel that the power was immense and extensive. They wouldn't have been able to discern the mysteries behind it. As for Luo Feng, he could understand some of the mysteries. Even though he was also a true god, he was a true god who could create techniques at top-tier level 11, which meant he was already as powerful as ordinary true gods of void space. If he was willing, he could certainly morph his miniature universe to a higher level, becoming a true god of void space after that. There was only one threshold to becoming a true god of void space. As long as someone was able to create techniques at top-tier level 10, they would be able to become a true god of void space, just like Teacher Origin. As for Divine I True Master, Juhi True God, and Primal Chaos City Leader, they were only able to create techniques at top-tier level 9. It was exceedingly difficult for them to break through. Similarly, most Universe Masters could only create techniques at top-tier level 5, and it was difficult for them to advance. Luo Feng had become a true god after his godly body reached 100,000 times, which was more difficult than becoming an eternal true god. Besides, he had a solid foundation, and had gained a lot when comprehending the evolution of chaos, so he was able to create techniques at top-tier level 11. Yet Luo Feng didn't dare to become a true god of void space now. Once he became a true god of void space, he needed to go transcend incarnations within a very short period of time. That meant he would lose the chance to resist the sector beasts, and when he was transcending incarnations, sector beasts could go and swallow his miniature universe. They would destroy the original universe, and the entire human race would go extinct. The Earthlings and all Luo Feng's family members would die. That was something Luo Feng wouldn't allow to happen. No matter how powerful he was now, he didn't dare to achieve a breakthrough. Instead, he remained at the level of a true god. It was the only way he would have enough time to fight the sector beasts. Is that the destruction origin? And the original universe is the life origin. Luo Feng was mesmerized by this move. That whirlpool portal represents part of the destruction origin, yet it's so shiny and bright. The white and gleaming whirlpool portal coming at Luo Feng cast a reflection on his eyes. He kept discovering the mysteries of the whirlpool portal, and in the distance, his godly power avatar was studying and comprehending in the space of the black-striped stone pillar, where time moved 10 million times faster, to improve himself. Destruction. He had never met the destruction origin before. He was a creature born in the original universe, so he was totally amazed by this move. Time was almost frozen, and the gleaming whirlpool portal suddenly hit the 9-level tower, blasting the entire star tower away. What an amazing move! Luo Feng was thrilled. That Betty doesn't have Wu Qi God, Shawu Wing, and Blood Shadow Blade. All it has is its own power, yet it's still able to put out such power. If I didn't have Star Tower, I would be at a severe disadvantage even if I could resist the attack. The whirlpool portal struck Star Tower. Luo Feng could clearly sense how powerful the move was, and he could immediately tell that he was able to resist it. The prerequisite was that he had Wu Qi God and Blood Shadow Blade. Hide in Star Tower all you want if you're such a coward, Sector Beast Betty said savagely. The enormous image of the sector beast behind it had disappeared, while that bloody engraving picture merged with its skin. Sector Beast Betty turned around and started to flee. It wasn't stupid. Luo Feng could easily resist destruction by hiding in Star Tower, so there was no point for it to keep fighting. You're the most powerful sector beast, Betty, said Luo Feng. Why are you leaving so soon? Star Tower quickly flew toward Betty. Both Pearl of the Golden Ocean and Shawu Wing were trying to control the golden waves and the time and space that were frozen in place. They were both constricting Betty. Luo Feng was already terrifically fast under his limit, and Betty was strictly suppressed, so they were getting closer and closer. Damn it! Betty looked ferocious. It was so furious that it was clenching its teeth. It didn't bother to separate its body, as it knew that if it did, those 99 bodies wouldn't be able to resist Star Tower. Star Tower rushed at Betty, getting closer to it. Bedi, yelled Bedi. A godly power wave immediately rushed out, enveloping Bedi, who was trying to run away. Although godly power itself couldn't do much to slow it down, it was like tossing red-hot iron into water, and when the godly power ocean surrounded sector beast Bedi. The godly power and the power of the sector beasts kept consuming each other. Bedi was infuriated. It had never been suppressed like this in its life. Now, it understood that the godly power of Milky Way Horde leader was much greater than he was, which was why he had dared to use that move. Do you really think you can kill me with that move? Bedi looked at Star Tower with both its heads. Come out and fight me if you dare. Okay. A white being flew out of Star Tower. Bedi was astounded. He hadn't expected Milky Way Horde leader to be brave enough to fly out of Star Tower. Isn't he afraid that I'm going to kill him? Bedi wondered, confused. Bedi had been forced into a difficult situation, and had almost decided to use Sector Light Portal to run away, as that was the ultimate means of escape. But once it was performed, it had to burn its own sector, reducing the level of its sector by at least one full level. Bedi was a sector beast at level 5, so if it performed Sector Light Portal, it would at least drop down to level 4, which meant it would at least need to eat 30 sector beasts at level 4 to get back to level 5. It wouldn't resort to that move unless its very life was threatened. Bedi. Luo Feng flew toward Bedi with Blood Shadow Blade in hand. I respect you and will kill you in a fight. Arrogant. Bedi grew even angrier. All of a sudden, bloody engravings appeared on its skin again, and were spinning around its godly body. They flew behind its body, and it started to glow. The light quickly condensed. The bloody engravings were like the skeleton, forming a gleaming sector beast once again. Bedi and the sector beast image utilized the same move. They both reached out their right hands. Destruction. Bedi performed its most powerful move yet again. Though it also consumed a great deal of energy, it wasn't as relentless as Sector Light Portal. Great. Luo Feng stared at the radiant, gleaming whirlpool portal, trying to study it. Why had Luo Feng come out to fight it? Because he wanted to witness the move Destruction. Destruction contained part of the Destruction origin, and unless he was fighting a sector beast, he didn't have any other chance to comprehend it. So that's how it works. While Luo Feng was watching it, his godly power body was analyzing it in a place where time moved 10 million times faster. Bedi glared at Luo Feng, clenching its teeth. Die. The gleaming whirlpool portal crushed everything in its path and flew at Luo Feng. It destroyed all it touched. Nothing could stop this whirlpool portal that represented destruction, yet Luo Feng stood still with his blood shadow blade, concentrating on the whirlpool portal. Luo Feng suddenly waved the blood shadow blade in his hands. Light wing. Blade light burst forth, and all of a sudden, an enormous white dragon with huge wings appeared. The dragon was over 100 million kilometers long. Its individual scales were distinct. Each scale was brighter than a star, and the eyes looked indifferent. It shook its wings, then struck the whirlpool portal with its head lowered. The whirlpool portal and the light-winged dragon suddenly struck each other. Luo Feng was as powerful as a true god of void space, and he had Wuqi God, Blood Shadow Blade, and Duan Mie. The attack was just as powerful as a top-tier, true god of void space, and could have destroyed a miniature universe. This video will end here.